Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And this is Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. And in today's video, we're taking a look at Works of Wonder, Architects of the West Kingdom. This is the newest expansion for Architects of the West Kingdom. And this comes from Renegade Game Studio and Garphill Games. And so Architects of the West Kingdom is a worker placement game that came out a few years back, and they've had a few expansions. This is the newest one, and we're going to talk about our thoughts on it. But before we get into that, we do want to share just our real quick brief thoughts on Architects, the base game, and what we feel about that particular game. I'll go first and let you guys know that I really enjoy Architects. I enjoy this whole series of games, the West Kingdom series of games. Architects isn't my favorite in that line of series, but it's definitely not my least favorite. I really like the uniqueness of the worker placement element and being able to capture your opponent's workers and trying to get your workers back so that you don't run out. It's a very clever concept to me, and I also enjoy the track progression that you have in that. Getting resources, getting apprentices, all of it really works for me. Solid game. What are your brief thoughts on Architects?
I think this is an amazing game. I tell people all the time, if you're someone that's fairly new to the hobby, people I meet and I talk to about board games, and they're looking for something and they throw out a Ticket to Ride name or a Lords of Waterdeep, I always point them to this game. To me, and I know people have disagreed and said it's heavier, to me, I believe that this is the perfect worker placement to get people into the game because it does things a little bit different. Whenever you place your workers, you get resources per how many people are there, and you have to learn to get them back. Not necessarily getting blocked. You're always open to move places, whereas in Lords of Waterdeep or other games that are recommended to teach people how to worker placement, you can get blocked. And that's a good technique to learn, or even if you tried Raiders. That's a good technique to learn, but this one, you're free to go wherever you want. The only places you could get blocked are the black market spaces, so you don't have to worry about someone feeling like they can't go do what they want to do. They learn about how to place workers, get the action. The actions are fairly easy for the most part. You get resources. The only difference is you get resources per how many workers are there, or you have to come up here and deal with a little bit more text and iconography by at the guardhouse, taking those actions. And so for me, this is an amazing game to use to teach people. It's one that I will always recommend. And I will tell you though, I've never lost this game. I played it about 10 times and never lost. And so for me as an experienced gamer, this is one that even though I love it and I recommend it, it's one that I didn't keep, but I will play with people if they have it, or like in this instance with the expansion. We'll talk about my thoughts on that, but I do want to say that not feeling like I said, this is the game I feel like I could go and tournament Architects. So if Garphill Games or Renegade wants to start a tournament on Architects, I would love it because I feel very confident. And this would be, I mean, there's other games that I feel like I'm really good at, but this is one. I'm like, it clicks, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to play. And for that instance of not feeling as challenged as I like to do in games, and that's not to knock anybody else, last game we played, it was a big difference, remember?
Yeah.
And I feel like it just connects a little bit more for me maybe, and I don't feel as challenged. So even though I love that game, I think it's an amazing game that I recommend all the time to people, and it's one of my go-tos to recommend new gamers to because it's fairly inexpensive. It plays up to 5 people. You can solo it to learn it better, and you have all the freedom to do that. And now there's expansions that if you want to add more, more. I mean, that to me is a game just like a Lords of Waterdeep or something, or Ticket to Ride or Catan, to get people involved in it. So I strongly commend Garphill Games and Renegade for teaming up on this and getting it into distribution more.
So there you have our quick thoughts on the base game. So where we're coming at when we talk about this new expansion for Architects, the Works of Wonder. So what are you getting in Works of Wonder? Well, let's talk about that real quick. In my mind, there are 3 big components that you're adding to this game. The first is going to be this influence track that's over here on the right side of the board. In fact, this whole board is a new addition. And while I'm talking about this board in and of itself, I want to point out and give some props to them for making the artwork match up with the main board. I absolutely love it when publishers do that because it makes it feel like you can't just have this board any longer. You need the full expansion. You need the full picture here. And so I really love that they added that artwork on there to make it part of that.
And they do have a play mat. I believe it's going to retail,
yes.
And it does incorporate this into the mat so that you don't have separate pieces.
Yeah.
So one thing to think about too.
And with this influence track, what it is that you're going to be doing with that, there's a couple of things. This can be used as a substitute for resources. If you look right here, you can pay 2 influence in exchange for losing a virtue or paying 2 coins. So rather than go down on your virtue or paying coins back to the bank, you are able to use your influence. And then also you can pay 4 influence in exchange for 1 gold or 1 marble, which gold and marble especially, is pretty hard to come by in this game. So it's pretty nice that you can exchange 4 to 1 there and help you to finish some buildings. Now, what else you'll also be getting with this influence track, you can see here and here, there are 2 spots that as you advance beyond those marks, you're going to be able to get yourself a free building card, one of these green cards. And what's really nice about that is that if you were to drop back down below one of these markers and then go back above it later on in the game, you get the bonus again. So you can just keep doing that time and time. In fact, it's a good strategy to find ways to spend your influence so that you can bump back up and get more buildings, because buildings are pretty stinking important in this game. So that's one thing you get with this. Another thing that you're going to get with this are the Profiteer and Princess. And it's this whole area right here, because you have a deck of cards. Mm-hmm. This deck is the same here. And you get these 2 meeples here. You get this Profiteer meeple and this Princess meeple. And these are going to go out on different spots determined on this card right here. So the Profiteer, for this particular card, he would go to the mines, and the Princess is going to go to the town center. And what's going to happen with those 2 different meeples, anytime you place one of your workers at the spot with the Profiteer, you're going to gain influence, and that's going to bump you up on this track, which sounds great, and it is good. But here's the catch to that. There's going to be a penalty that you're going to pay if you have any workers here when a black market reset happens. And that's going to happen more frequently with this new expansion. So if you're familiar with the base game, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't happen all too often. It's only right here whenever this fills up. That doesn't happen that much. With this new expansion, it's going to happen a lot more often. And so if you do have workers here, they're going to be sent to the guardhouse. They're going to prison because the Profiteer is not the most morally, sound person. He's pretty corrupt. He'll get you influence, but
he has the word profit in his name. So.
Yeah, there you go. So you don't want to have your guys stuck here when a black market reset is about to happen. You want to go to the town center and get them out of there before that happens. There will also be another penalty that's determined by this card here. And that can be something about getting a debt or losing virtue. It could be something like along those lines. If you go to the spot with the Princess, you are able to make a contribution. If you look right here, this is where these cards come from. They're the same backside of these cards up here. You're just going to flip them over and put them in this side right here. Mm-hmm. But there's a slot for each one of the basic resources in the game. And as long as a spot over there is open and you have a resource, so for instance, this wood here, there's not any wood on that card. If I put a worker here with the Princess, I can add a wood, I can add a contribution to that card, and I will gain the benefit below the resource that I add, which is always going to be at least 2 influence, but if I add a gold, I'm also going to get a virtue. If I add a marble, I'm going to get a reward card, We'll come back to the reward cards here too. There's a little bit of a difference with the expansion on those. So that's what happens when you go to the princess. If you have the most workers at the location with the princess when a black market reset happens, you're going to get an extra bonus, which in this particular one is that you can either pay off a debt or get a gold. Your choice.
You flip it.
Yeah, you flip over a debt.
Flip it,
yeah. So that's a nice addition with this game. The third and final thing that you're getting with this expansion are the wonders. You might be wondering, well, why is it called Works of Wonders? Well, it's because of these cards up here, and I know that that's barely on frame. You can barely see them, but you get 5 building cards here. We're going to pull them up on the screen here, or on the board. And with these match the basic resources in the game. So you're going to have a building that's primarily brick, wood, stone, gold, and marble. And these contributions that you're adding when you go see the princess, those resources are going to be put on these wonders as a black market reset occurs. And that's going to lower the price that it costs to be able to build one of these buildings. So you can see here that this brick wonder costs 15 bricks. That's a whole heck of a lot of bricks.
Easy.
You also have to have 7 influence and pay 5 coins. You're always going to gain 2 virtue when you build a wonder, and then you'll actually get the wonder itself. So you can build any of these buildings at any time so long as you have the resources, and you get to claim... Yeah, on your turn.
Yeah.
Just like you would any other building by putting a worker at the guild hall. But you'll get to take that building, that wonder, and you'll get to put it at one of these spots where the workers are, and it will act like another worker of yours. So for instance, I could put this brick wonder right here at the quarry, and it counts as a worker there. So whenever I place a worker at the quarry, I'm getting 2 stone instead of just 1, which is really good. Now, there are some limitations to these wonders. You can't place them at the mines. Unfortunately, that'd be really cool. And you can't place one where there's already one at. So I could not place a second building at the quarry. So first come, first serve, because you really want to try to get the places that are going to give you good resources. So that's a really cool addition as well to this game.
But in addition, if you decide that you don't want to take the additional here, you can use the wonder to move up this influence track. Maybe you need it to get that extra building card, or you just don't need that resource. You just feel like it's a waste. Usually that's not the case, but if you did for some reason, then you could just take the influence and move up.
Now, in addition to all of the extra components to the base game with this Works of Wonder, there are a couple of rule changes. You're going to have 2 extra spots here for the apprentice market, which is really good. Because now you've got 5 cards to choose from instead of just 8. You are going to have more workers here at the workshop to be able to get that, or pay more coins, right? So that's one big change. Another big change are these reward cards for whenever you go to the cathedral and you build onto the cathedral. Instead of only having a limited number of cards, you actually play with the whole deck. And there are extra reward cards with the new expansion that you shuffle into this deck, as well as extra buildings and extra apprentices. You're getting extra cards that you add in all of these decks. So that's really good.
One thing we do need to say is on these cards, there are cards in the deck that do have to do with the Age of Artisans expansion, like here, where you're either adding the tools or...
So if you don't,
those cards, and if you don't have them, then...
If you don't have that expansion, the Age of Artisans expansion, you can take those cards out, and you'll definitely want to make sure to do that before you set this game up. So, but it is compatible. You can play with both expansions and everything all together and make one big game. So that's what you're getting with the Works of Wonder expansion. So now we're going to share our thoughts on what we feel, what this new expansion adds to the game. And I'll go first and let you guys know that I think this Works of Wonder expansion, it just kicks this game up a whole nother notch for me. I've always felt like getting resources in this game, some of the resources are easier to get than others. I've already told you that marble's pretty hard to get. And so having this influence track over here act as another way to pay for resources, for me, is a huge bonus with this game, because that opens up a whole new avenue of things that I probably wasn't able to do beforehand, before this expansion came in. It might make the game a little more easier, a little more fluff, but that's okay. I enjoy that aspect of it because I'm getting that benefit as well as everybody at the table. It's not like it's an unfair advantage for one or two players. Everybody's got that benefit. And
that's true.
More buildings, more resources going around the board, more fun in my opinion. That just really kind of ratchets up the excitement for me. I do like these wonders because it's also an extra thing that I have to keep my focus on. Jeremy talked about the game where he kind of ran away with it, and one of the biggest things was he got 3 of the wonders.
Yeah, y'all didn't care, I guess.
We didn't pay enough focus on how quickly he was getting all of those wonders. And so
you saw me with like 20 bricks.
I know. So, I knew he was going for the brick
that was the
one
first
for sure.
one.
I did get the marble one. I think it's the prettiest. But anyhow,
I can't even remember all of them I got.
So I like the fact that you have those wonders because now not only do I have the buildings in my hand that I'm working with, but there's a communal group of buildings that are super powerful because not only do they give me virtue, but they give me extra resources, and that's a first come first serve kind of thing. So if I can claim the twigs before anybody else, man, I'm going to get those twigs, or whatever the case may be. But that's kind of what I feel like this expansion adds to it. The Profiteer and the Princess, I think, is a cool mechanism as well to get you extra influence, which I've already talked about being a bonus. I do like that timing aspect that it adds because I want to get my guys there to get that influence, but then I want to get them out of there before it's too late. Otherwise, they're going to get arrested, and there's a penalty for that. That's a nice thing, but I don't feel like it was as big of an addition to the game as the other 2 parts that I've already mentioned. So, Jeremy, what do you think about this new expansion?
Well, I like when games are a little bit harder. So I will say, I like things to be a little bit more complex, and I think that this adds a few things that do make it more complex, but I think the influence track definitely makes the game easier because, and I use this term all the time, the Agricola versus a Caverna.
Yeah.
You can feed your people. I mean, this right here, and it's an easy way to get coins or other, gold or marble. And for me, I just, you need it for the Profiteer and for the expansion to work, and I think the expansion is a good expansion. I liked playing it. I mean, it was a 46-point victory. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I know that Lance and them were focused on the buildings in their hand versus trying to spend a lot of resources, but I just found it, to me, felt very easy to get these, because you're getting those resources, and if people are slow to take you off the board, you get a bunch, plus this helps you take because they're going to add to that.
Yep.
So I did feel like as far as complexity, I feel like it does take it up a notch.
Just a tad, yeah.
It does take it up a hair, but it also makes it more forgiving, and so that's a tough thing for me because like I said, I feel like this game is already pretty inviting. I feel like this makes it more inviting, but just know you are going to have to teach one more step. You've already got worker placement, you've already got the track progression, but now you've got limiting where you go, because that's one thing that's going to add to your thinking, and that's the thing I like about it most probably, is it limits where I want to go. I may not care who gets the princess's ability, and I might at that time. It just depends on the round. And I may not care if I'm where the Profiteer is, and I just want to get that resource because nobody else is going to go there or do it because he's there. I like that limits where you want to go, or possibly might give you a reason to go there. I'll tell you, there's certain spots on the board in this game that I rarely go to that other people hit up a bunch. And Lance, do you know where one of them is?
I know you don't go to the black market a whole lot.
I rarely go to the black market because I'm usually my faction or my asymmetric character Usually my asymmetric character starts me here randomly when I get it, and I just try to stay up. I'll move down a little bit, but I usually can't go over here. But what's the other spot? Do you know?
You don't ever go to arrest a whole lot of people. You usually.
I'll arrest people. I rarely ever go to the workshop.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I will get 1 to 2 worker that can fulfill most of my buildings, and I could care less about a lot of the abilities because of 1 or 2 do what I need, and if I'm just making good choices of knowing when to take coins to go down and when to get resources. So I like having the option to, make people not want to go places or, incentivize them to go there. And that to me, I think, after playing it and reflecting, is the thing I like the most, because these are nice, and I do like the idea of them, and I like that they go here and they give you an additional resource, and it helps you build quicker. But again, I feel like that makes the game a little bit easier because you've already got 12 points. Yeah. And if people aren't paying attention to those, you're going to rack up. If you get 3 of them like I did, you got 9, 21.
It's a huge advantage.
You got like 31 points right there.
Yeah.
Just off those wonders. So, I mean, that's the thing is I like what the expansion does. I like that it makes the game more complex. I think throwing this and Age of Artisans would make it, even up better. There. The thing about it is these games were released in a progression kind of lighter
to
medium, and then heavy. And if, to me, Architects is the easiest of the bunch, and then you have Viscount, and then you have Paladins. Paladins for me is the heaviest of the bunch. I have not played the new expansion yet. I want to. I have it. We've got so much to play and so little time. But Paladins is the one I've kept because, as you know, I like the heavier style. I like to have to think out those actions and think ahead and plan and adjust. Viscount, I think, is a really good game, but in our games, we usually neglected the yellow and moving in and putting people into that rondel. And I think that that's what it was for me. In that game, I feel like you can skip things and get away with it. In Paladins, I think you do need to do a lot of everything. In this one, it's all about one thing. This game is all about building buildings. I told Lance before we did this video, build buildings quickly. If you have the resources, you have, 20 workers? You have a bunch of workers. It's okay to be putting workers over here. You want to speed the game up. You want to end and get those buildings. And you want to just use them. And then whenever you have about 3 or 4, or you're getting close to that number, you need to start thinking about getting them back. That's when you get them back. Don't wait too long and waste turns, but definitely use your workers. Anytime I play this game, I'm usually the person that has the most workers. And you want to move up this a little bit. To me, I think just putting as many people over there as you can, because you can fulfill either cathedral or buildings, and that's the points in the game.
To what you're saying, and you've already kind of said this expansion is going to help you with building buildings. I mean, it's going to get you those resources and help you to build. So
and give you more options for more points, because with these building cards, you need multiples of different type of resources. These you just basically influence is going to be pretty easy as long as you don't blow your coins and never go to the tax stand. You can do that. And you're going to gain the same resource. And as people put them over here for you,
they're going to be helping you out.
Setting yourself up, guess what? You got a stack there ready to go. So, because they want the influence or something, or they want to be where the princess is. So, they're going to do that. It's going to help you out. So, So, like I said, I think it's a great expansion to a great game. And I think adding both makes it super complex. But then it gets me to the point of, do I need all that when I could just go to the next level?
Let's ask the question then, as it relates specifically to this game, and that is, would you ever play Architects without the Works of Wonder expansion? And in my answer to that question, I would say, no, I don't think I would. I think I would always want to play with the Works of Wonder expansion now that I have it, and I've seen what it adds, and it does make the game a little more open, a little more free-flowy. It's not as restrictive as Jeremy's talked about. I do like that in some games, not in all my games, but I do like it in this game because I feel like...
You like it in most games, though.
Nah, I don't know.
You like it in a lot.
I do like it in some games. I do like it a lot in this game. So that's the biggest draw.
So for you, it's a must to have to play in this.
Yeah, because without that, it feels like the game kind of slows down, and it is a little bit more of a rough climb to get those resources, and it's a harder crawl to get to that point. And then once you do have your apprentices that are giving you benefits, and you've got your buildings set up, then the game starts to speed up, and it does start to go. With this expansion, it sort of feels like from Jumpstart that it's a quicker build up to that point, and you're moving forward with the game.
Did you play Age of Artisans with us when we played with the tools? So you didn't play that one?
No.
I was gonna say, I would add it just because of the complexity, but that's me. If I would still start new people out, telling them to play Architects. I would recommend that. Once they get familiar with that, then I would definitely tell them to add either Age of Artisans or Works of Wonder. I think Works of Wonder, I think this one would maybe be the easier one to get them to do because they've already got the track progression.
It's going
to make them easy. It's going to make the actions easier. Only real new thing they have to worry about is what they do and how they add to that. So I think I would add this expansion first, and for that reason. But I do like the Age of Artisans because you have those cards that you have two sides and you have to decide and then slide them under. Yeah. And then you have the new cathedral. And I would want to throw it all in. We don't play Architects very often. So, I mean, if I was going to play Architects, yes, I would want it all in because it just takes it and makes it a little more thinky. And I like to really, think. And I think having the Age of Artisans is going to balance a little bit more of this out. I don't know if they recommend throwing it all in at once, but...
Oh, you definitely can. Yeah.
But I would play with all of it because then those tools, people have to balance the tools and this influence. Yeah. And so now you have more of... Even though it is more forgiving, and that's going to give you more powers, you do have more to think about and more choices, so you have to decide which way to go. And yes, you could do a little bit of both, but you just got to balance out. And so for me, yes, I would add this expansion. If I were you and I had Age of Artisans 2, I would throw it in. But being as I have Paladins, I'm kind of with the expansion, I'm kind of set there.
Some of the other games
I've had Viscount, I've gotten rid of it. I bet the Viscount expansions make that even better, but
Paladins is where
then it gets me to, do I need all those expansions or can I just take this? And Paladins is just so thinky and fulfilling when you have. I mean, you saw me last time we were playing it. I was like, this guy's gonna go there. I was like, Queen Gambit over here. This guy's going here, and it's like, boom. Okay, he's going here. He's going here, and then you're like, oh shoot. Yeah. I was one shorter. I perfectly did it. It's kind of one way or the other, but it's so fulfilling either way. Yeah.
Well, so what else is in this expansion that we haven't talked about so far is the solo aspect of this game. Now you did get a solo version of the game in the base game, and you have a new solo version in this expansion with new player boards that are going to have this little resource tracker down here on the bottom. Anytime the solo opponent gains resources, except for marble, instead of gaining those resources, they're going to advance this tracker, and when it gets to the end, it's going to reset, and they're going to gain a marble. And as you know, marble is worth points. It's the most valuable resource in the game. But this is really important because it's also going to keep track of what apprentices they're going to be taking off the board, what wonders they're going to be working towards if they're able to take one of the wonders. And so this new board, this new setup is completely different. My understanding is, I've not played the solo for Paladins, but my understanding is that this is very similar to the solo game in Paladins. They've kind of just taken it from that game and put it on this game here. You do have variable setups depending on which solo opponent you're going to play against. There are 6 different ones. You get 3 boards that are double-sided, so lots of replayability here, and each one's going to have their own specific focus that they're working towards, such as the Illusionist here. He's going to be focused on the black market. The Meddler is going to be focused on the workshop, and as I've said, you get other boards here, so that's really cool. On the topic of the boards, you have new player boards as well that are going to have their own variable setups with the influence track added into that. So when you are playing with this new expansion, you probably want to play with these new player boards if you're going to do that variable setup, as it's going to tell you where to start out at. You can flip the board over and everybody just start in the same condition, but if you want to spice it up, you can flip that over and have variable player powers. So.
And one thing I do want to say, because some of you may not have ever played Architects, with Garphill games, they give you a good quality product.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Micho's artwork's great. It's the same throughout the line. Yep. Right here, like you said, there's 6 solo players you can play against. I just set up Circadian's First Light to play solo, and there's 4 of them in there. So it's not like they just give you one opponent that you're going to do. They're giving you, if you're just a solo gamer and you want something to play, it sounds like they're giving you your money's worth there. 6 opponents is pretty good.
Yeah. You're getting a whole lot with this new expansion, and the high quality production level, as you're probably already familiar when it comes to the West Kingdom series of games. So, but that is our thoughts on the new Works of Wonder expansion. We'll get the box back out here again and let you take a look at it. So leave some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this new expansion and what you think about Architects just in general. Architects of the West Kingdom, not like real life architects, of course.
You can tell us that too.
You can tell us that if you want. Yeah, sure.
We don't know much about it. But
no, I know nothing.
I do very little woodworking.
Leave us some comments down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up, please. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance.
Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll catch you next time.
We need it again. Where games are... We don't need to edit it out. Let's just do it in front of everybody. This is ongoing blooper. Ready? Where games are hard to master.
We'll catch you next time.
We'll see ya.